Hello, welcome
Hi.
to Marriage on a Mission.
Whoop, whoop.
And we'll be talking about dating and waiting, Christian waiting and dating. And it's been exciting, and I believe that today's edition is going to be more exciting. We're discussing dating.
Yes.
All right, how to
Be found.
be found strategically, positioning yourself and all of that. And later we'll talk about how to spice up your dating and yeah, but also looking at some of the ingredients of dating that will help you, because we have dated
Ish.
in our past and now we're not dating, we are married, are we?
Yes.
All right, so I think there's going to be an exciting episode for all of us.
Yeah. So before we move on, if you haven't seen our previous episode, please watch it, or after you watch this one, you can binge watch the previous ones, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Okay.
Yeah.
So should we go?
Yeah, let's go.
Okay. So like you mentioned, we're talking about dating today. We've been talking about waiting for my single peoples. But now we are moving a step further to dating and talking about the purpose of dating, basically, why we have to go through that phase, and then being found
Yeah.
or finding, depending on which side of the
aisle you are.
you are. Okay, so I think we should start with the purpose of dating, especially as a Christian, because from the previous episode we've established that there's a Christian way of doing things and a non-Christian way of doing things. So we have that preamble. So well, personally, I believe the dating period is a time to establish friendship, because that will help, that will lead into the marriage, and it's the friendship that will last.
Yeah.
So personally, I believe it's a time to, establish quality friendships with an intent of looking for the values that we talked about in the previous episode, because a Christian dating should have a clear intention of where it's ending.
Yeah.
Today you're saying something about sampling. Talk about it.
Yeah, I thought we'll go into that later. But yeah, so as you said, is for building friendship.
Yeah.
And also solidifying the relationship. Okay, getting to know each other.
Yeah.
Of course that's the friendship, isn't it? Yeah. So getting to know each other better, and also to be very sure about the value system that both of you have.
Yes.
So while you're dating, you are not examining, it's not like a test, but you also have your eyes opened.
Right.
Like, at the back of your mind, you're looking out for certain things, because you have value systems that you have set for yourself, a vision of the man or the woman that you want to be in a marital relationship with. So the dating period offers you the opportunity to know whether this is actually the person,
Right.
And do we really have the same value system, and can this lead to anything serious, or is he or is she not serious, that kind of thing.
Right.
And to get to know the yellow lights, the red lights, and things like the green lights.
Right.
Those are very important things, but doing all of that from the God perspective.
I remember one thing Lady Sue always told us, like the woman in the
so
church.
Lady Sue is my late wife.
Yes. And she particularly told me a few times that if a man wants to marry you, he knows from the very beginning.
That's right.
That's
very true.
And of course, some people date for whatever reasons. I don't know what they are looking for.
Some end up marrying a long relationship. Sometimes it is school and things like that. They met in school and they are not finished, and but okay. The ones that are very long, again, there's no school and
there's nothing happening. We're
just dating. Nah, if you're my brother or my sister, I'll tell you this may not lead into marriage. But anyway, let's
because yesterday I was watching is it Reverend Okonkwo, and he was talking about some statistics about dating,
right,
and how the longer it is, it may not lead to anything serious, like marriage.
Yeah.
So I think that for a believer, it has to be established that at the end of the day, your intention is to marry the person.
That's right.
Because we've seen this a number of times in church, where, because also in church,
so common.
it's very common in church. Like, we want to encourage the young people to
have relationships
in church, because we don't want them to go and be unequally yoked with someone outside. Yeah. But then it's like, we are just with each other, son. Then we leave the person, go to another person.
And it's normally the guys. Some girls do it, but that's on a lower scale. Wow. The guys especially move on, and that's what I call sampling. It's like, so dating, Christian dating is not for sampling. Okay, let's see. Sampling is actually like having sexual relationships. Okay, let's see if
we're
compatible. Sex is not what shows compatibility. In the Christian circle. So dating is not for sampling. It's not for tasting and testing.
Right.
So that because if a man samples you, and I'm talking to my sisters, the likelihood to move on is high, especially if it's not a very good Christian, one who does not fear God, one who does not have solid Christian values. He will move on to another sister. Right. So sampling is not a thing when it comes to Christian dating.
That's a really good point, because and I think for us the ladies too, we have to be alert when you realize that someone is just around to waste your time. You should be able to
I thought you girls could tell that.
Well, sometimes when somebody's being all sweet and lovey-dovey, you can be distracted. It's like you're enjoying the attention, enjoying all the...
Look beyond attention.
Charlie,
put on some prism of vision. You're looking at the attention, which is important, because that tells you the person is sweet, it's important, but that can be also a facade. You understand? You're looking at that, but you're also checking his Christian values and his relationship with God. That is important too, because that and his intentions, but that is what is going to lead to the everlasting marriage. Because if you overlook those and you're looking at the lovey-dovey sweetness and all of that, some men can put on a very good act. It can be 2 years, 3 years. He will act and he has his own intentions. Maybe he's even dating another person and you don't know. So please be very clever and smart.
Okay, so we want to start with how to find or be found.
Okay.
Because if you are entering the dating season, it's assumed for a Christian that you have intentions of settling down with somebody. So let's start with the men. How do you find,
because the men find in our culture.
Yes, in our culture.
Yeah, sometimes the women find us. Guys, the woman can find you without you knowing that you've been found.
We have spotted you. We'll be pretending
come there and they can strategically position themselves, and you think you found them, but they found you.
Long time.
But men find normally, And for a guy, you have we've said that before in our previous episodes. You're looking for a solid Christian, because this is a Christian broadcast. You're looking for a solid Christian who loves the Lord, and that person may have been in your circle for some time.
Right.
Because we marry from our circles, actually, mostly. Even when people recommend, they may have to say some things about the person. You may have to know the person eventually. So for a guy, you are praying before you even meet the person that God should lead you. This is a prayer I pray. I prayed, God, I want to do your will in marriage. I want to do it right. Don't let me be misled. I don't want to go with passion and sexual interest. I want to go with the person that will be a good company for us to accomplish the vision and assignment for our lives.
Right.
When you're praying, when you have good intentions, God will lead you to the right person. So you pray that prayer even before you meet the person. And when you see a lady that you like, you already have your physical max areas to take. You want this kind of, everybody has a taste. Please don't let us fake it. You have your taste.
Definitely.
And God knows from when you were born that you have your taste. And God doesn't overlook that. It's important. And so you are also taking that. But we said you're looking at the value system first, and then there are many sisters, and sisters who can act. Hey, Charlie, the sisters, they are more of actors than us. So you got to be prayerful, about it. And I said that you have to look at the areas you're looking at, and look at where you are going, because you know where you are going, and is this person the kind of person that will lead me there, or that will accompany me there, that will support me there.
Right.
Let's say you want to become an academic, and the lady you're going to marry is one that will subtract from that. Obviously, that's not her. You want to be a minister of the gospel, and the person is not a person that can push you there. It's not oriented in that area. It's wrong. You want to be a music star, and this is a person you are meeting who doesn't like music, who doesn't like it at all. Just saying, so you have to look at where you intend to go, and everybody knows where they intend to go. And this person, you may have met her in your circle, and you have had conversations before you meet them. So don't just jump on and look at a woman's looks and then go and propose. Please study from the background. Don't jump, please. Don't be moved by the bum, the front, the face, and then immediately.
It's the bum for me.
We were in church once, and one lady came to church where I was pastoring. When the girl came to church, the guys were all over her head. One of the guys came to me and said, "Pastor, when I see the girl, something moves inside of me.
Something's doing me."
And I said, it is Satan's seed in you that is doing you. You don't know her. She just came into the church, like not even a month old. And every guy was all over. They were all salivating around the girl. And I said, look, God, pity, God, have mercy on this boy.
Brothers.
Because we don't know where the girl came from. So I'm saying that you don't be moved by that. Study her. And don't study her by being in a relationship with her. Watch her from afar. And that's when you will see the real person, if she is pro where you're going, before you make a move. And also, after you've prayed seriously and you are not looking at her beauty, you have not just decided already, God will lead you there. Before you even start talking to her.
Right.
And you're not talking to us, child, let's get married. Some of us did this some time ago, but let's get married. It's very bush. You have to get to know each other. Be friends first. It's very bush, to start with marriage.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that's from a guy's perspective.
Yeah. I think you've pretty much touched on everything I would have said in terms of submitting your desires to God in the first place, and then having a vision of the kind of partner you want. We talked about that in the waiting season. So before the dating starts, you have a plan of what you believe, or where you believe God is leading you, for your life.
We all know that.
And last week you made a point that we shouldn't be so consumed with marriage that we forget that there are other areas of our lives that make up our destiny and our assignment here on earth.
Exactly.
So the marriage should be a component that propels us to fulfill our purpose.
Yes, that's it.
So I think that vision helps us to sieve out who does not align when we go out on dates.
Yeah.
Otherwise, then we'll just be, like you said, sampling people. I went on a few dates myself.
I want those examples to come out.
Some, from day one, I just knew that that's not it. I just knew. From spiritual compatibility, from their God space, from the vision they have for their life, from the vision they have for the woman they want to have in their lives. I told you about the date I went on. This is a while back. The one I told you about today. Like, the person's vision is that a woman will come into his life. And he already had a child. So
and balance.
The woman should just come and balance his life, like make his life nice. I was like, what about me? Me there?
When he hears those things, he has to be running away. I think it's like he's an inward-looking person.
Yes, and I think he was having issues with his ex, so like he wants to show the ex.
Yeah.
You're come to use me to.
To show. Yeah, a trophy woman.
Charlie. So from that, I just knew. I remember another date I went on some time back. This one, you and Lady Sue knew about it, and you were checking on me.
Oh, the British person.
Don't say it.
Sorry.
Before the person will see the video.
I mean, it doesn't hurt.
No. So he and his late wife were checking on me, like they were really interested in my dating and marriage and all that, and praying for me. So I told them that, this person has shown some interest, and I didn't want to go on that date, but I remember Lady Sue encouraging me, like, just go, have a nice time, ask questions. I don't remember what went wrong, but I remember being really angry. And the person was, tell us, yes, and the person was being very casual with me, like from day one. You don't know me, do you see? So like some of these things just tell the person doesn't have boundaries and all that. So having that vision, like you mentioned, having a vision of who you want to settle with, where God is taking you, and how someone coming into your life will complement that, really helps when you get into the dating space. So that you don't waste time. If it's not it, it's not it. You know. I remember the last date I went for, the one my cousin introduced me to.
Oh yes, you mentioned that.
I think that was like very mature, because sometimes we the ladies, we know how to ghost the men. If we don't, it's not working. We just vanish. We stop picking their calls. We don't respond to their texts.
Yeah.
This one, it was very decent. When we ended the date night, the first day of meeting the guy,
you both knew that this is not going anywhere.
And we said it to each other. So we assessed ourselves, like, do you think this is going somewhere? The guy said, no, I don't think. This is a plan I have for my life. I want to be a model, blah, blah, blah. I want to leave the country. I said, hey, it's not for me. Then I also said, well, and the person was not Christian, and I didn't know.
Yeah.
I didn't know. Someone introduced the person to me.
It ends there.
So that was like, it defined the relationship for me. So I think that in finding, like you mentioned, those are the key things. And then joining a community. You mentioned it, but I didn't go into
it. So that is very important for me. God puts us in communities from day one, even when we're not ready for marriage, from school. And so some of the people that we may end up marrying would have met them in previous communities.
Right.
It could be school time. It could be even church in a place where you were growing up, and you got to know each other. Families got to know each other, and you may have moved on to some other endeavors, and you come back, and then your paths cross. So I'm saying that watch your communities, because God does not drop partners from the sky, you know. And every community we are put in, or we end up going into, mostly are orchestrated by destiny, you know. And I'm not saying your husband and your wife or your potential are in all the communities, but then they will be in the community. God is very intentional about our lives, and He positions us to places. He makes things happen to us that lead us into places where we will meet the very people that He has positioned in our destiny path, you know, so that we can achieve work. So what He puts us in communities, our schools, the choir groups, maybe athletics group, and all manner of communities. Your neighborhood is a community. You know, you can move into a place. Workplace is a community.
Even though I don't recommend dating at work.
No, it's not a good thing. That's why most organizations even frown on that.
Yeah.
But you could have met somebody there, and something sparks up. But if it happens and it's going well, we're not saying it's bad. Sometimes if the organization frowns on it, one person leaves. But you can have your spouse coming from your workplace. So watch your community and watch your associations. That's where your partner is going to come from. So and you start praying.
Right. Talking about community. Yeah. You know, I shared with you when I was in dating. And someone reached out to me and asked me, am I dating someone? I said no. Somebody who is not close to me called to check on me, and then asked if I was dating. I thought it was a bit personal, but I was like, oh no, I'm not dating. I thought so maybe he wants to recommend somebody or something. Person started blasting me. You know? No, it was very painful.
I just remember this.
No, it was very painful. Like, the person said, when he sees entrepreneurial ladies who are above 30 and they are not dating, he really wants this for them, because it's like we think that God will bring the man from the sky. I said, I was very confused when it started. I was like, why is he blasting me? What have I done? Because, like you said, in our culture, for a lady, you wait to be found, you know. And for me, I felt like I've put myself in a lot of communities. Like, I'm out there, a friend told me to put yourself, even you and ladies too, were always telling me, put yourself out there. Oh, Charlie, I'll close.
Who made you go to La Palma? Was it La Palma? No, it wasn't La Palma.
It was La Palma.
Labadi,
both Labadi and La Palma. I'll close work. I mean, to make use of sitting in traffic and wasting fuel, I'll just go to Labadi or La Palma, sit in the lobby, order some tea, and just be there like, oh God, is today the day that you're going to send me by man? Hey, nothing will happen. No. Nobody even say hi. Those were quite frustrating.
I know.
But this person reached out and started blasting me that we think that God will bring the man from the sky to our doorstep. And I was like, what have I done to deserve this blasting?
So bad.
You know, and I spoke to an accountability partner after that because I was really broken from that conversation. Like, I cried.
Don't let people like that break you.
In Jesus' name.
They themselves, they are confused. Like, please ignore them.
Right.
God has got your back. God knows when you're going to get married. God knows it.
Oh, look at this.
Yeah.
So I spoke to my accountability partner after that call. Like, I was angry for like 2 days.
Yeah.
So I narrated the whole thing to Alimo.
Yeah.
And what Alimo told me in that period was, God is preparing something. You don't even know how God is preparing it. Right. And the person might be around you. Mm. And it was post-COVID, so I didn't have a church. And we had moved to a new neighborhood to start looking for a church. So it was like, okay, just look for a new church. You know, put yourself out there again. Yeah. And let's see how it goes. Then 2 years later, guess who shows up? Ta-da! And I had known you from like 7 years ago. Yeah. And by then you were married. It was a different story altogether. Yeah. When the first day I told Alimo, my accountability partner, that you had told me your intentions of getting married to me, he said, do you remember that guy who called you? Do you see that God had already prepared somebody? And you were already, or I was already in your space, we're already in each other's space.
Nobody knew,
Exactly. So the thing about placing ourselves in communities, like, God is good. We established that last week. We talked about that. And God has his own timing for our lives and knows how to position us, the intentionality of God, position us in the right places for his good purpose.
Yeah. Are you going to talk about women? Or maybe you will talk about that.
Whether a lady should approach. That's the next thing.
No, how to make yourself,
I think we ladies also, especially if you have, we're talking to those who have the desire to get married.
That's right.
Yeah.
Some ladies don't want to marry.
Yes. So for a lady who wants to get married, I think it's necessary, like we've said, to make ourselves approachable. I think there's a scripture that says you have to be friendly to get friends. Yeah. So we have
it's
to.
In Proverbs,
Yes, in Proverbs, we have to position ourselves strategically.
Make yourself available, and it's like, let it be a woman. Be a woman.
Yeah. No, for a long time people thought I was dating.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, I was single.
It's an air. It's because you exude it. You actually spew it out, and it's not that you want to, but that's actually who you are. And it's not bad. Yeah. Just that I wanted you to be conscious of that could also discourage or scare some very not so confident men.
So that helped me to be just aware so that I'm not pushing people away. So I think that's the import of what we are saying. To be conscious so that you don't push people away and make anybody who wants to approach you feel like, I don't need you, I'm self-made. Yeah. Like,
I've got it all going well for me.
So we are talking about positioning yourself as a lady, and the fact that it's not wrong. And we're talking about Ruth's story in the Bible.
Yeah, Ruth. So Ruth was encouraged by Naomi. Was encouraged by Naomi to position herself. And people think that it was just when Naomi told her to go to Boaz's feet and lie down there. That was very bold. But Naomi knew the system, and as an older woman knew how men like Boaz are like, that they would never propose. At that age, he had not thought about, and there were girls in her
focus on the money
crowd,
business.
And so Naomi, the older woman, and they are smart. People don't know. So she advised that it's not just that time that she advised. She advised actually to be crossing Boaz's path in the farmland when they were harvesting. Said, make yourself known. The whole point is to make yourself known. Register yourself on his mind 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. So the next time he sees you in another corner, he will remember you.
Right.
Kind of. So I think that the woman must, and you know how to do it, but we're saying that we're doing this to reinforce that it is not wrong. You have to position yourself. Sometimes approach the man. You see a guy in your community, a new guy, an old guy, a guy who's been around, and you think that this is the guy you like. You've seen the qualities, you've seen his Christian life, you've watched him from afar, you've prayed, you feel that you want, Charlie, this is a guy I want. There's nothing wrong with you approaching him. Not proposing, but approaching him to, hi, I've seen you around, start. And then the first time, the second time, the third time, you may take his number, and then he may be a guy who is actually looking, for, and you also may be a lady that he thinks you are out of his range, like you are above him. And so you approaching him will actually give him some confidence to be able to. Right. So please, there's nothing wrong with approaching. Be a feminine person, and we're not saying that lower your standards, but you can approach.
Yeah, and I also think that if it doesn't even end in anything, I think you can build a quality friendship from there, or even add to your network for something else, maybe for business, career. You never know. So
that's a good point.
Yeah, just be nice, be pleasant. Okay, before we go to the tips, the God said bit. You mentioned that we should pray about the person, even before we approach to date, and we are talking about Christian dating. So you know that the intention is to end the marriage. So before you even start that journey, prayer is definitely key, like trusting God to direct our path, because this is a destiny defining decision. It's not
you something can't do it your own way.
Yes, and we need God to direct us. We need the Holy Spirit to give us our confirmation. So let's talk about the God said bit. Can God tell you that this is your wife?
Yeah, God says, God can tell, but that is hugely abused too. People use that to just lie, and I think that's why a lot of the Christian marriage counselors and coaches want people to stay away from. I had a dream, I had a vision, and God was saying this. I don't kick against that, but it's huge. It's largely abused. Right. People lie with it, and people also, in the multitude of business, can also have a dream. If you really love a girl, you are dreaming about, you are thinking about her or him, a guy thinking about him, you can take it to dreams, and you think that God is, you are lying to yourself. So that is not God. That is you taking your desires into dreams, and that can produce dreams. Our desires can produce things that preoccupy us, can produce dreams, and they are not from God. So the God said we should be very careful about that. Now, marriage is so important that you need to pray about it, because the person you are dating today, you don't know what the future holds for the two of you. You don't know what will happen next year, next 2 years, next 3 years. So God knows, and that's why you must take this to God. Now, when you take it to God, most of the times, because of the generation we are in, He may not show you visions and dreams and things like that. He may lead you into somebody's path. And they taught us this when we were young. We didn't understand the deeper life. I told you I was young, very young when I was in deeper life. It was a major thing that they taught us. He will lead you coincidences. He will lead your path will cross a few times. And anytime you met, you feel that there's something about the sister. And if you're looking for to marry, it will click. Right. And when it clicks, there is this inner settlement and peace that this will be her or him. Don't wish it away. Pray about it some more. It will grow, and you can approach. That thing is what I really, really, really believed in when I was growing up. Even though they taught us also the dreams thing work. If you were praying and God has a way. Before I met Lady Sue, I never knew her. She was in a different branch. We're in Mountain of Fire. I was in a different branch, and then she came to my branch, in Teshi then. She told me that when she was sitting there, God told her that this is your husband. Wow. But I hadn't seen her. Our path crossed again in my child's school. Right. And she saw me. I didn't make her out because she saw me when I was teaching in the church. And then she approached me. So I saw you in this church. I said, oh, yeah. And then my pastor told me that and so the coincidences,
right?
That's when we started seeing each other, knowing each other, started praying about each other.
Right.
Before then, there was somebody in my life, and I had prayed about that person, and God was saying, no, very good. She was rich. My pastor was very upset with me because this is a British girl who had houses here, has houses there. My pastor was very upset. I said, Pastor, it's not about houses, it's about future. It's not about houses, it's about future. And I said no. I said no to her because not that I didn't like her, but God was saying no. Anytime I prayed, it was a no, And so I told her no. And then coincidences brought us together. So coincidences are very important. Then you have that inner sentiment. The other lady, there's something about her. There was always a question. And when you always sense that question, please don't wish it away. Because the questions you were having, the things that were lingering that you are not sure about, may come up later on to bite you. So watch that. So God leads us, else we don't have to pray.
Let's talk about us.
Yeah, and then let me finish with the God said bit. So please, the God said to watch it all. If a guy comes to you and says, God says I should marry you, well, that's what God told him. God hasn't told you.
Right.
Please go and confirm with God and have the inner witness, and God must tell you to and be sure before, because don't let anybody dribble you with God said. Okay.
Yeah, I would say let's talk about that because we also had God said moments.
Yeah, that was actually for me. Yes. Because I months after I had lost my late wife and giving what I was going, I was alone, almost virtually alone. My children I don't have my children still, but I trusted
God is handling it.
So I was alone virtually, and so I started praying that God, I need to marry early because I was having very terrible moments, and in that period you become very vulnerable. If you don't take care and God doesn't help you, you will mess up, and because you're vulnerable, anything can happen to you. So I started talking to God months later that God, I need to marry. I told some of my accountability partners that I want to marry early. One of my mentors, Pastor Kumi, married 18 months later. I married 19 months later, and 19 months, yeah. So I started praying, and I don't shy away. I'm not shy to say that I'm prophetic because it's one of the callings of God, and so I started seeing and all of that. My wife today, and it was difficult because Charlie, how will people take it? How
will I take it?
God started, telling me that this is the person, and you had been away.
I was away from your space.
Yeah, space class. So when you guys moved away from here, almost 2 years, you guys moved away, and so when I started having that, I told a few people that were close, and eventually I had to tell you.
Let me take it from here.
Yes, take it from here.
So I'm minding my business. This is like about 2 years of not being in touch with he and the family because we moved from this neighborhood.
That's right.
We left the church. We had to leave the church. And then COVID. Now we can't even see anybody anymore. And then after Lady Sue passes, everything dies down. I came around.
Yeah, you came around.
Because she was like a mother to me. So I came around to help, support, and everything. So after everything dies down, then you call me for a meeting on a Saturday morning. I remember so well. I can never forget. And the long and short is...
The men forget, but the ladies, they don't forget.
I remember the date, the time, everything, I was wearing, I remember. And the long and short is, God said, you are my wife. Like, he didn't mince words.
It was straight pow.
Straight to the point.
Giving me I'm advising against it, but it was straight.
You went against your own advice.
Yeah.
God said, you are my... I said... Like, I think that day I died, I resurrected, died. Like, my spirit left my body. I said, God said that me, I'm your wife. Oh, what are you saying? In fact, I don't know how I made it out of here because I drove back home. There were people
around. Yeah. My parents stayed with me for over 6 months.
Your mom and your auntie.
And what's it called? Jojo and Michael and Co.
Yes.
Here, yeah.
But I think that after that, God said, I needed space.
Yeah.
I needed space with God.
That is very, very important. You've got to confirm it yourself.
Yes.
You've got to don't be cajoled, don't be pushed into God said and accepting it because God said. Unless you yourself not, you're not sure about your stand with God. You've got to get your own confirmation. That's what I was saying about the God said thing.
Yes. And I remember going home after being confused about it for like 3 days. I didn't tell anybody. Then I told my first accountability partner, and we started praying about it. And I appreciate all the people I'm accountable to, because everybody left me to still make my own decision. And when I told my parents, I'm really grateful for my parents, and especially it still even brings to mind the intentionality of God, because my mom had already walked a similar journey. She's being proposed to by a man of God with children, which is me and my siblings, because we had lost our mom. And your birth mom. Yes, we had lost my birth mom. And she's also confronted with the whole God said bit. And she also did not want to marry a pastor. She told me, this whole
Many
thing.
people don't want to marry pastors.
Sorry. But the pastors are actually amazing.
Go ahead.
I can testify.
Go ahead.
No, people think like pastors are rigid and
boring.
You're not boring.
I'm boring. They think you're rigid and boring.
And I'm saying you're not boring.
They don't know until
they should come and learn from you. You show them the ropes. Yeah, but my mom also said she didn't want to marry a pastor, but she had to go through getting her own confirmation. So when I told them that Reverend Kujo wanted to marry me, even though my mom was excited, because of course they've also been praying about my marriage and waiting to hear something, my mom's advice was I should get my own confirmation from God, and whatever I say God said to me, they will support my decision, and they respect my decision and support it. And it was very encouraging to me, because my mom told me of dreams she had about my father, and hearing things, getting confirmations, like peace in her heart and all that, before she finally settled on marrying my dad. So that really helped. And I had to let you know that I also needed that space to process this with God before we can move ahead. I remember one of Rick Joyner's books that I read, he was saying the prophetic is meant to complement the work of the Holy Spirit, and every believer having the Holy Spirit should be able to hear the voice of God themselves, so that when a prophet tells you something, you can go to God yourself and confirm.
Pure truth.
So I think this whole God said, but God does lead us to our partners, and
He's the one who does that, actually.
Yes, not just marriage, every other major decision God leads us, but we need to be sure that we are also not being
lied to, say not being lied
being
to
deceived. Yes. And just be honest. If you just like the person and it's not God,
just go ahead. So if God says and then you don't love the person, then what?
So I think this is not what we wanted to end today, but it's been very exhaustive. So
I want to end here.
Yes.
And we'll continue next week,
God willing,
with a very exciting part of dating, Christian dating. I don't know what we're going to talk about. Just you can give us some.
So we'll talk about some tips for actually dating. And
how to make your dating experience
fun, date night activities,
spicy, not boring, the normal boring Christian dating. Spice it up.
You're very interested in that one. I love it. And then we will talk about your sexual purity and dating, or what to do with your sexual urges while dating.
That's right.
Okay.
Right.
So we'll end it here. Thank you for watching.
Thank you. See you again next week.
Bye.
Bye.